sin. Sometimes you can sin so much that you think this is just a part of the way it is for me. No, you can actually go dating without sinning. You don't have to. Like, when that hit, I did it, and I was like, I wasn't thinking, I was just really busy. I was like, man, I feel so clean. I'm going to bed, I just feel so clean. It took me a minute, but how do you maintain that position? Because he said all you got to do is present. Presenting is easy. Here, Jesus. Blameless. Holy. Presentations. And I've learned the church people are excellent at presentations. Church people are the best presenters ever. Found out when you meet people, it's the other reason I say don't date super emotionally. Because when you meet people, most times the person you meet is not them. It's their hired representative. That is usually hired for the first 3 months that you meet them to represent them in all affairs as it pertains to you. That's their hired rep. And they're usually very courteous and very nice and considerate and responsible. And for some reason that person is always a temp. Usually only hired for 3 months. Got a 3-month assignment to represent that person to you. And for some reason, 3 months is like the marker when the representative leaves and the real person shows up. And you're like, oh. Man. Oh, for real? This is the real you? Like, for real? Where did the other you go? But that's what happens when you meet people. You usually meet the representative. When you come to church, you meet representatives. I have a friend. I always tell her she's cynical. She's cynical because she's seen people, she's seen a guy, and I know him. He's anointed. This Negro came to the church, spelled my first and last name. I ain't know him, ain't never met him. That's how he called me out to pray for me. He said, C-R-U-M-P-J. James Crumb, I need to pray for you for this earth. So he's a prophet, he's anointed. And that same guy was at another church preaching, prophesying, saw her because she's very pretty, very attractive, and all of a sudden puts the mic down and starts prophesying in her ear. Then he's taking down my phone number, but he don't want nobody to see or take the number, so he said, but you can't write it down, you got to remember it. I mean, I'm telling you, so she's cynical, because church people are, I don't want to say the fun people, because it's not that everybody's like that, but there's usually more in a lot of situations than what you see. So she goes for herself, and she's cynical. And me and her were talking one day, and we just joke a lot. That's usually just about conversation, cracking jokes. And she said, I'm just waiting to see, because you got the church talk down pat. And I laughed, and I said, man, funny, because I didn't know I did. But hey, whatever. I told you this because I probably read my Bible a lot, but whatever. I'm not even worried about you being cynical, because it's me. But a lot of times when you meet people, what you meet is not really them. You meet the presentation. You meet the presentation. But the issue with presentation is, with God and as it relates to God, presentation has to eventually produce results. And eventually He's going to check. Y'all remember the story of the fig tree? Mm-hmm. When Jesus cursed the fig tree? Well, this is the thing about fig trees. He was in the season of unripened figs, which means He wasn't necessarily looking for perfected fruit or for something to be perfect. But with fig trees aren't supposed to have leaves without fruit. That's just the way they grow. They never grow leaves and no fruit. If they grow leaves and no fruit, something's wrong with the fig tree. Jesus wouldn't have reached if it weren't no leaves. But the presentation and the outward appearance of the fig tree said I have fruit. So Jesus reaches up, because I looked, this was a while back, I looked online, I was curious, at the fig tree and the leaf and how it's set. And the leaf is huge, it's a really big leaf, and the fruit is like up under the leaf. So Jesus reaches up under the presentation to see what's really there, finds out there's no fruit, and He curses the fig tree. I mean, I've heard people preach that 50 million different ways. We're just going to take the angle right now that there was no fruit when there was supposed to be fruit, but there was presentation. And the only person that discerned and dealt with it was Jesus. So a lot of people walked past that tree and never said nothing. So we have people who can present themselves a living sacrifice to God, and they got the presentation down pat. But Paul just said, I'm beseeching you not just for presentation, but for something else. So he says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And he gets into that ye may prove. But we're not going to deal with it, that ye may prove part. We're just going to deal with the be not conformed, be transformed part. So I started thinking, I said, man, this is interesting. Because the verbiage to me is interesting. To be not conformed, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be not conformed. And that's how I say stuff over and over and over. I say it different ways. I emphasize different parts of the verb. I just got to hear it differently so I can see it differently. Like, you said that. But why did you say that after you said what you just said? Because nothing in the Bible was there on accident. So, be not conformed, but be ye transformed by, I keep leaving, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So, me being me, I said, easiest way to figure this out is to find out what the words mean. My advice, anytime you want to understand something, especially when you're coming from King James, you want to understand what the word means, do not go to like Webster Dictionary. Because what you're doing is you're looking up and you're translating from English. But the New Testament wasn't written in English. It was written in Greek. Old Testament was written in Hebrew. They have lexicons and dictionaries, all these different things. I actually don't own any of those books. All the materials that I use to study for Bible study are free. Before I first got saved, God bless my soul, this guy came up to me and said, I see you're very interested in the Bible. I got the software that you can put on your computer. I said, okay, took the software, put it on my computer. One day I was in the bookstore, found the software, found out the software cost $500. I said, oh, had all these dictionaries, commentaries, and all these different things on it. It was great. But my computer crashed. And my pastor had the software, but he can't find it. I said, well, am I just not going to study? So I had to find free resources. A couple things you can check out, blueletterbible.org, called blueletterbible.org. And then there's one called eSword. You can actually download that. Once you download it, you don't need an internet connection. That's what I use most of the time. And it gives like all the definitions and stuff, and it's free, 100% free. eSword.
You can download it.
Yeah, eSword you have to download, and it has a thing where you push the button and it puts like the numbers to match the definitions beside each word, and you can just put your mouse over it and it'll pull up the definition of the word. So, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So, yeah, this first thing I want to look at. Conformed. What does the word conform mean to you guys? Conform.
Change some type of move.
You talk very low.
Huh?
So you talk very low. You talk like me when I'm not speaking in front of people.
Like a part. Change, like a mold. Conforming to a mold of some sort, some pre-made mold.
Okay.
Changing the shape of something.
Changing the shape of something.
To change the shape or the attitude or the behavior of something to fit the status quo or the norm.
That word conform actually speaks to everybody, actually nobody was wrong. Pattern. A shape. It's something that's already been predetermined. It's a way. I was looking at some scriptures, Proverbs, and it was talking about the immoral woman and all this stuff. And I started getting, let me tell you something, men and women, but men, stay away from the immoral women. I don't have no big description of the immoral woman, because they come in all shapes, sizes, colors. Stay away. I'm going to tell you why. Proverbs, if you read, spent 3 chapters talking about that. 5, 6, 7. That's all Solomon was talking about. Add that to the fact